Hey, welcome to our new video about how to take your prototype into bulk production. So within this video, we are talking about how to take an existing and well working prototype that you have in your product to market where it can be manufactured in bulk and sold in multiple countries and exported to multiple countries, have all certification, nice view and everything. So from the very basic prototype to the bulk manufactured product, there's a huge journey. So we are talking about this journey within today. So make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you can get the videos as soon as they come out. We are talking about a specific set of products that's actually either consumer, medical or industrial products, which are normally not huge, like not the big machineries, but like small electronics component to some electromechanical products. That's the range that we are talking about in this video. And first I want to level the expectation with you, because you might have a nice prototype which is working, the consumers love it, you have done your market research and everything is there, but this journey takes a lot of time, lot of effort and lot of money. So I want to level the expectation that this journey is not a month journey or 2 months journey or 3 months journey. This might be 6 months minimum, maybe up to 1.5 years. So it's a long journey where you have to spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time and effort on this. And within the bulk manufacturing phase, there's something called valley of death, where most of the products fail. That's why it's called valley of death, because in idea to production life cycle, 95% of the products fail in this phase, not in the prototyping phase. There's a reason why 95% fail in this region. In the first phase, where you have the idea and you draw it to prototype, normally the person who generated the idea has a good knowledge about how to convert it to prototype, or know people that can assist in this. But when you go to the prototype, but when you want to convert that prototype into a bulk production, there are a lot of unknowns and there are a lot of consumer analysis you have to do, and there are a lot of finance you have to find, and the correct niche in the market you have to find, and you have to clear the patent so that you can play in that area. So there are so much of different things that you might not have identified at the very beginning. That's why a large portion of the products fail in this area. But the beauty is that if you know all these hurdles way before you grow your product into the prototype, then you have much better chance of being successful. So that's why we are giving you some knowledge about what are the different steps that you have to follow in this journey, and what are the common places that you can fail. So this is not a single video. This is the first introductory video that we are recording, and I'm planning to add a lot of more videos into this bulk prototyping to bulk conversion phase. So subscribe to our channel and stay tuned so you can get more video and more knowledge about this matter. Normally, in most of the electronic and electromechanical products that we are talking about in this video, there's a standard process where we can convert a prototype into a bulk. You don't have to follow each and every step exactly said, but it's better that you follow the process so that you can easily identify the errors and improve the product performance, price and quality. So as the diagram says, we have to start from the initial prototype and then do a few sample batches, engineering validation batches, design validation batches, and then do different testing at each and every batch. There are specific tests that you can perform so that you can increase the reliability, you can make sure the certification is done, and then you have to do a lot of steps like preparing the mold, doing the industrial design, doing consumer analysis, and working with your patent application, all these things, and also marketing, finding investors. So all these things lie within this region. So these steps are better to be followed at that order, so you can have a more optimized output which is quicker to implement and cheaper to implement. If we talk about the engineering validation phase, which is the very first phase that we are talking about in this bulk scale up, before the engineering validation phase we had a nice prototype, but now we need a batch where we can get functioning prototypes that can be tested with consumers and early consumers or your co-creators, and then can be tested for different requirements, which I have listed here. So for all these things, we are normally doing maybe 10 to 50 pieces of products. It may not be in the best or the correct format. Engineering validation batch is specifically designed to make sure that your product, electronics, product actuators, all the functionality of the product are perfect. So after the engineering validation batch is passed, you can't change the components or the schematic or the initial functional design to the product. So if you find out some errors in these areas in your engineering validation batch, you have to do a new engineering validation batch, and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 batches until you get it perfectly. So that's the idea of engineering validation batch, to make sure that you fix on your functional design. Then when your functional design is over with engineering validation batch, then you have to make sure that your product is in the correct form factor, so that you can be sure that it's ready for bulk production. That's the requirement in design validation. In design validation, you have to make sure that your design, industrial design, the circuits, all the components, suppliers, and the ruggedness of the product, certification, everything is ready so that you can go to the bulk production reliably. So that's the idea of design validation batch. Again, in design validation batch, you have a lot of other testing to be done, reliability testings, which is little different from the engineering validation reliability tests. And then you have design and manufacture the mold, and then get the correct plastic molded or metal molded casings, structures and everything, and assemble the product which is equal to the final bulk production. And then only you can go to the certification. With this production ready version, you can go to certification and get the required certification. There are a lot of certifications that you might need based on your industry as well as country. So if you are going for the Europe, then you have a different set of certifications. And if you are going to use US market, again you have total different set of certifications for the same field. But again, when you are changing the field from medical to consumer electronics to industrial, then the certification requirements again change. It's a trickier thing that you have to follow to get all the certification requirements, but I will do a separate video on how to select the correct certification. At the beginning of design validation phase, you have something else to do also. That's to do the design, the industrial design, molding, and then manufacture the molded casings. This is a critical thing that you have to start early on, because these moldings and industrial designs take a lot of time. So if you wait until the end of engineering validation phase to start this process, then you will be late for the design validation batch, because normally a mold takes 4-5 weeks to complete, and the industrial design will take a few weeks to complete. So all these things are needed before your design validation batch is ready, so that you can do the correct testing and go to the certification. So make sure that you start the industrial design at least in the early on phase, maybe at the start of the engineering validation phase, and then start the molding process as soon as possible. Whenever your engineering validation batch is fixed, then you have to start manufacturing the molds. Then when your engineering validation phase is okay and your functionality is okay, design validation is okay, your final design is okay, and then certification is okay, when everything is finalized, then you can go to the bulk manufacturing phase. That also has a lot of effort in that phase, where you have to design a correct bulk production. Even if your product is ready by the design validation, your production is not ready. Product and production is a totally different two things. The product is your physical thing which you have assembled in a prototyping facility. But the bulk production is where you have to convert that to a production line, do all the QC jigs and testing jigs, and do all the manufacturing and assembly jigs, and then have a lot of software for all these data backup, QC data storing, and also some inspection points. Your employees itself should be present at the manufacturer's location at the time of manufacturing if you want a correct output. And then you have to decide on logistic, how to ship these items, what are the taxations that you have to consider, and what are the shipping certifications you have to take. All these things should be designed early on before you start the production. You can start the production only after all these steps are fixed and completed. Otherwise, you might go for wrong production or wrong faulty percentage or wrong production line or wrong QC, so that you don't get the correct output. So it's very important that you design correctly on the production's batch. After all these steps are completed, you can now go to the bulk production, or you can start the bulk production. Even when you start the bulk production, there's one more step, what we call as production validation batch, where we want to validate whether the production is exactly same as what we got as design validation batch. Because in the design validation batch, we have done with a different batch of electronics component, molding and everything, and also the manufacturers or the operators who are assembling the product, testing the product, are different from design validation batch. These factory workers might have different way of assembling, different way of doing the things. So you have double check whether this is correct again at the bulk production, because a single mistake at the bulk production may be really harmful for your finance and the production timeline. Therefore, you have to do a small batch we call production validation batch, which is we start the production, ramp up a little, and then take a sample or batch of samples from that product and do the testing. Then you can validate whether the current production batch is okay. Then only you can authorize them for bulk production. Even after this authority, you have to be at that bulk production floor so that you can do inspections time to time, go to the line and check at each and every step of the bulk production, so that you can make sure you are getting the correct output all the time. So after all these things, then you have to take care of fulfillment. After the bulk production batch is over, then you have to go to a fulfillment center or send the batch to a fulfillment center so that you can ship that to different part of the world. Either it might be your local distributor at each country or direct to the consumers. Whatever it is, it's not your expertise or best option to do the bulk fulfillment of your own. There are two reasons. One is those fulfillment centers are geared up for this operation. They have been doing it for so many years. They are much optimized rather than you are recruiting a few guys to pack the items and send it out. The other one is taxation. These fulfillment centers are strategically located at these taxation relaxed places. For an example, maybe at the Hong Kong border with Shenzhen. So they are legal in Hong Kong but physical in Shenzhen, or in Dubai special airport zone. Likewise, there are places where the taxation is much lesser, so you can operate way better than packing them at your home or your factory and then paying for the taxes. So make sure that you select the correct fulfillment center for bulk distribution. So that's the whole journey from prototyping to bulk production. We will talk about each and every aspect in this in much more detail. So make sure to subscribe and press the bell icon so that you can get the new videos as soon as they are out. Also, this video and all the other videos I'm doing in English are available in Sinhala language also. I'm recording them in separate. So make sure that you check in my channel and go to the Sinhala video list if you want to watch these videos in Sinhala.